Uh, we have to invite him to leave.
Okay, yeah, so.
We're gonna call meeting to order first and then.
I call this meeting to order. It's 6:36, just in time for Brian to leave.
All right, we're gonna go into attorney-client session. Thank you. Hey, Elisa? Elisa, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Do we have to log out to enter into caucus?
Nope,
Yeah.
that's why I changed it. So you're all set.
Okay, all right, just wanted to confirm before.
Yep.
Those are our signing money signatures. Not our official bill, legislation sign.
Oh, right. Not the full name. That's it, you want, maybe you want to just close the meeting, I'll mute this for 7 minutes.
Yes, we will close this special meeting of the Finance Committee at 6:54 PM on the 5th of February, 2024.
We'll be right back for caucus.
Thank you.
They can't.
Let's say, everywhere.
Right. Good evening, in here, out there. In there, actually. Are you in there? I don't know where you all, wherever you all are, welcome. We will call this meeting of the Caucus of the Kingdom Common Council to order at 7:03 p.m. on February 5th, 2024. Before we get into our legislation list, we're going to be receiving a presentation that Mandy Bruck is going to send us off on.
Yeah. So, as I think you all know, we began working with consultants, Muller and Lonergan Associates back in October of 2023. And we've asked for this opportunity for them to be able to speak to the members of the Common Council to give a brief presentation regarding the process of the 5-year consolidated plan and the importance of your involvement as well as the public participation of stakeholders and residents. Tonight, we're joined by 3 of the 4 consultants from M&L assigned to helping us form our plans. And I would like to introduce Kate, Trina, and Emily.
Good
Hi
evening.
there.
Welcome.
Thank you. I do have, as Mandy said, just a very brief presentation. No, I can't share my screen. That's okay. I think you all have a copy of the PowerPoint in front of you, which is probably easier anyway. So again, thank you so much for allowing us time on your agenda to discuss the city's 5-year consolidated plan. This plan will guide the city's federal CDBG funding for the next 5 years. And as Mandy said, it's very important to get feedback from the Common Council so that we can properly inform the plan.
If you want to screen share, you have the ability now. You don't need to if you don't want to,
Okay.
but your clerk just gave you that ability.
Awesome.
But whatever you want to do.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll bring it up just so it's a little bit bigger. But so as Mandy said, your input as the Common Council is really critical to this process so that we can adequately and accurately inform the city's plan as well as its priorities for the next 5 years. Any priority, need, or project that the city would want to fund with its community development block grant funds in the next 5 years must be included in the CP as a priority now. And so again, it's really critical that we get your feedback now. So for those of you who are new to the council and or maybe new to the consolidated plan process, I thought it would be beneficial for us to give you just a brief presentation of what the planning process looks like, the types of activities that the CDBG dollars can be used for, and the like. So the consolidated planning process is comprised of 5 different components. A stakeholder consultation process, which includes a public engagement process. It also includes quantitative analysis in a housing market piece where we use quantifiable data and citizen participation to develop the housing needs of the city. We also take a look at the housing and homeless needs assessment, again, using data that HUD has provided, but also that stakeholder input that we're planning on getting and the citizen participation. And together, these will inform that strategic plan and those 5-year priorities for the period July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2029, excuse me. And then the 5th piece is also the annual action plan. So while we're doing this plan right now as a 5-year plan, one of the components is an annual plan. And then each year of the 5-year period, the city will be required to put together an annual plan to tell HUD how it's going to spend that annual allocation to meet its priority needs. The stakeholders that we generally meet with are homeless and special needs service providers. We also meet with affordable housing providers and advocates, including the Housing Authority. We meet with economic development agencies and other city departments. And we have a series of workshops scheduled for tomorrow all day there at City Hall to conduct this outreach. So what are some of the basic CDBG eligible activities? Housing rehabilitation is a common one. Public facilities and improvements is another big one. This is generally infrastructure improvement, streets, sidewalks, streetscapes. improvements to public facilities that serve low and moderate income individuals and households. So sometimes we see community centers, senior centers, those kinds of things funded. And also every once in a while, we will see economic development activities funded. At least 70% of the city's grant amount must be used for activities that benefit low and moderate income individuals. The city, to my knowledge, has historically invested 100% of its CDBG allocation toward those types of activities. Public services are also an eligible CDBG activity, but you're limited to 15% of the city's CDBG grant amount annually. Examples of public services are here on the screen: employment training, childcare, healthcare, mental health services, substance abuse services and education, housing counseling, and then other recreation programs. The actual programming for recreation activities in the city are also eligible. Other things that we've seen include Meals on Wheels or other senior services, youth programs, and also legal services. In addition to being an eligible activity, each project that the city would decide to fund has to also meet one of 3 national objectives. Again, as I mentioned, the city has historically invested most, if not all of its money into activities that benefit low and moderate income individuals and families. But the activities could also prevent or eliminate a blighting condition. So if there's blighted property in the city, acquisition and demolition is a potential national objective. And then urgent needs where the immediate health and welfare of the public are threatened. That's the 3rd national objective. We rarely see this. If there's a national or a presidentially declared disaster, this is often used. We saw a lot of communities use this national objective when HUD allocated the CARES Act funding at the start of the pandemic as well. But generally, the primary national objective is that low and moderate income benefit. Just for your reference, these are the 2023 income guidelines for the CDBG program in the city. These are updated annually by HUD, usually anywhere between April and June. So we'll expect an update sometime soon. But just for your reference, a family of 4 would need to make less than $81,300 in order to be considered low and moderate and low income in the city. And that's 80% of the area median income for the city's metropolitan statistical area. For 2024, we do not yet have the allocations from HUD because Congress has yet to pass a fiscal year 24 budget. So we're going through this planning process with an estimated amount of $650,000 that the city will receive. It just for fiscal year 2024. And again, the city expects to receive an allocation of roughly the same size annually for the next 5 years. In addition to the consolidated planning process, M&L has been engaged by the city to prepare an update to the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. What this analysis is a demographic analysis of the city's population, as well as we collect fair housing complaint data from HUD, from the state Human Rights Commission. And we also take a look at housing market data to identify potential impediments to fair housing choice. And part of that analysis also includes the development of a fair housing action plan to assist the city in overcoming some of those barriers. Fair housing is, of course, the right to choose housing free from unlawful discrimination, and it ensures access to safe, decent, and housing for everyone. The Federal Fair Housing Act identifies these protected classes: race, color, religion, disability, sex, familial status, and national origin. But the New York human rights law adds additional protected classes for individuals living in New York. And those include age, gender identity, military status, sexual orientation, marital status, and lawful source of income in housing only. And so generally when we hear about that source of income, this is usually, are they receiving some type of assistance to pay for housing, such as a housing choice voucher or other type of tenant-based rental assistance. The state human rights law prohibits discrimination based on that as a source of their income to pay for housing. Examples of housing discrimination that we commonly see are, landlords or real estate agents asking or guiding individuals to particular areas or neighborhoods because of their religious practices. If a unit is advertised as being available, but the agent or landlord refuses to show it, is also a form of discrimination. Landlords requiring additional security deposit for households that have children, or landlords refusing to rent to a woman who's expecting a child is also considered discrimination. And then, of course, landlord refusing to rent to tenants because they use a wheelchair, or refusing to allow for a reasonable accommodation to make the unit more accessible at the tenant's expense is also a form of discrimination. And again, part of our work on this analysis will include talking to fair housing advocates, legal service organizations, as well as organizations in the state and in the county and the city who will hear fair housing complaints to find out what kind of data and what kind of complaints they commonly see. That was a lot of information that I just shared with you. So I'm happy to answer questions, but really, as I said, we wanted to take an opportunity to allow you to provide your feedback and provide comment on what you see as the greatest needs, the highest priorities in the city during this year, but also in the coming 5 years, as well as like changes and trends that you have seen that you could envision impacting how the city might direct its spending over the next 5 years. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see all of you. But yeah, would like to offer an opportunity for questions and bigger opportunity for comments and input from you all.
How long will the public engagement process be?
That's a good question. So we have a series of stakeholder workshops tomorrow. As I mentioned, there's also a public meeting tomorrow evening. Once we draft the document, the full consolidated plan, that will go on public display for 30 days. And we're planning for that about during the month of April. And then we're expecting the full plan to come before council probably in early May for approval. So basically starting from tomorrow evening, the public engagement process will last throughout the duration of the preparation of the plan. And we will have a second public hearing sometime during the public display period. So there will be two upcoming opportunities for the public to participate. And I do believe, Mandy, you had some public meetings in the fall when you released your applications. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. So it's an ongoing public engagement process that that the consolidated plan undergoes.
Thank you.
How are you advertising these public events?
So they've been advertised in the local newspaper, and I believe they've also been put on the city's social media accounts and with Engage Kingston as well, and posted in areas throughout the city.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear about the public engagement, but my question is really about engaging with my office and Bartek, because we already do a tremendous amount of work on a lot of these issues that, you touched on. And while we certainly need more help, and we need to help different types of consultants, we need to make sure that any outside work actually complements rather than contradicts what we are already doing.
Yes, I agree. And I think we have a plan to sort of work with those together. I'm sorry, I can't see you, and I don't know all of you.
And I neglected to introduce myself. So
Sure.
I'm the Operation Council, and Bartek is our Director of Housing Initiatives. We have, I've lost count of the number of different projects that we are working on that touch on at least 3 or 5 of the items that you had on your list.
Okay,
And I want to make sure that anything that happens, happens in a coordinated fashion so
Sure.
that we're, efficiently advancing the city's goals.
sure. So if you have any written documents, planning documents, sort of summaries of things that you've already done or things that you're working on, if you'd be willing to share those would be really helpful for us as we draft the plan. We're having a session tomorrow especially about affordable housing, that other providers that might already participate will be attending. We also have a survey that is, I think, live, and I can share the links. They might be on the next slide, but I can certainly share the links or have Mandy share the links that will, sort of get at some of those other things that are already ongoing in the city.
Okay, it might be best if maybe Mandy, if we make time to talk, because the amount of work that we're doing on a lot of these issues is so vast, and some of it privileged, but other parts of it public. And we just need to make sure that this actually is complementary.
And Bartek has already been sent invitations to the meetings.
Excellent.
But I need to be a part of that too.
So that's the meeting tomorrow night, then?
No, that's a public hearing. Tomorrow, everybody's been sent emails. I've been very good about sending out information to everybody. I gave everybody the links for tomorrow's meetings. There's meetings in the morning and in the afternoon. And then there is a public hearing tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. It will only last an hour. We will be done before your common council meeting.
And will the public hearing at 6 touch on some of the discussions that have happened during the day, or is that you don't have, in other words, if people don't have to have attended those discussions to attend the public hearing?
Right, so the stakeholders were included in the invitations for tomorrow afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then tomorrow night is the public hearing, and there will be another presentation similar to what this was. And then people have 30 days, if they do not come to the public hearing, they have 30 days to send in written comments.
Okay.
And all of that will be taken into account during the process of writing the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could just add to that, so we'll have our stakeholder meetings tomorrow. We'll have the public meeting as well, and then we'll have a second public hearing sometime during April, once the plan is on display, where we will sort of summarize what we heard during the stakeholder meeting, summarize the results of the survey, summarize some of the things that you all tell us are priorities for you, because all of that together informs the plan. So anything that Bartek would provide, whether it's written or at a stakeholder meeting or anything like that, all of those things can be included in the draft plan that we would put together for your review, but certainly also for public review.
The questions?
In terms of the outreach, are you targeting some community nonprofits and schools and other community organizations within Kingston to let them know about this?
Yes, so we have a very extensive stakeholder list that includes agencies that serve the city. Some agencies serve the county, including the city, and so they are all invited. So these include, homeless service providers, social service providers, senior service providers, a lot of other nonprofit organizations that provide services and advocacy in the city for vulnerable populations, but also residents on the whole. So we have a very, very extensive list that we've invited to participate tomorrow.
Well, I meant the public, but the stakeholders, are we presuming then that the stakeholders would then would then reach out to their own groups to get input? Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that we request, and we will reiterate tomorrow, we provided a flyer to all of the stakeholders that included the link to our survey, and we really encourage the providers to share the link with their constituencies and the people that they serve to fill out that survey to broaden our gauge of what the needs are directly from the people who are accessing and needing those services.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? All right, well, thank you for the update. We appreciate you being here, there, or wherever we are in the virtual world.
Thank you so much again for your time. Appreciate it. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else, Mandy?
No, other than every other week, we'll be having a community development advisory committee meeting. So if anybody is interested, 13th, 26th, and then 2 of them in March, the 12th and the 26th. And by the 26th, we will have to have our recommendations to the standing committee for community development so that they can make their recommendations to the mayor, so that the mayor can turn around and give us the activities he wants to fund so that we can get the plan written. We have to have it submitted to HUD by May so that we can have it reviewed by them. And once we get reviewed by them, as long as they don't have any issues, by July 1st, we should be able to start all of the programming.
Okay.
What is the close of the application date for the CDBG funding?
It already was. It was December 6th, I think.
No, for the applications that will go in to request funding?
That went out in October.
Oh,
They were due in December. And now the committee, everybody has the copies. I sent them to everybody, so everybody knows what the applications are.
So what I saw, there was an oversubscription. In other words, more organizations asked for money than money was available.
Yep.
And so to the extent that it was over solicited this time, did it sort of match with prior years?
We always get more asks than what we have money for.
No, I understand that, but in terms of the amount, was the need that was expressed by these organizations, did it seem to be greater or on par with prior years?
It's pretty much the same every
Pretty
year.
much the same.
I mean, I give them credit if they don't get the money last year, they come back and they try to do it this year. And we're only allowed, like she said, we're only allowed to use 15% of it, and that's not really a lot of money.
Right.
So it's 650, there's like 97,500 that can be used towards public services.
All right.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
To the regularly scheduled portion of our programming. Are you ready? All right. Resolution 16, recommending the approval of transfer in the fire department in the amount of $32,188.17. This is a transfer of funds from the medical health grant. This is for the mental health program. And so it has zero financial impact. Everyone okay with that one?
Yeah.
Number 17 is recommending the approval of the transfer in the Parks and Recreation Department for $11,100. This is also to reconcile accounts. So there is no financial impact. Number 18, recommending the approval of a transfer in the city clerk's budget in the amount of $60,000 for judgments and claims. This is going to be coming out of contingency to cover claims levied against the city, judgment claims. Really okay with that?
Yes.
And number 19, this is requesting approval of a transfer of $859,595.56 from fund balance to fund staffing and other costs for the Kingston Fire Department to provide ambulance services. So the mayor presented to us at the Finance Committee meeting. Chief Ray was here to discuss these costs and this process of moving toward creating a bona fide ambulance service in our fire department. We also had Representative Impress come to was it public safety?
Yep.
Yes.
And make their case.
Anything we want to report from that?
No, they came and made their case, and it was good of them to do that, we learned from history, but it didn't change any, didn't create a resolution or change any.
Any questions about any of this? Okay, if anybody's got questions about the history of it, provenance, whatever, let me know and we can sit down and have a discussion about those details if you're interested.
Just one other, I just have a question. While you're still there. The, once we get our consultant on board and get our infrastructure in place to recover the cost from insurance companies of ambulance carries, I assume that'll go back in somewhere in the budget.
To this, yes, that was my understanding. Right,
And they're doing most of it now. So to have consultants was,
well, because we need consultants to tell us what we're going to need in the future. So we're covering it now, but it's not clear, and there's a lot of other things, procedures, processes, how many people do we hire? How many people do we really need to be working this? Because you need a paramedic in some instances, you need EMT in other instances. So we need to know what to expect in the future, particularly as we're looking at next year's budget, to what to include. Also to figure out what we can expect as well, alluding to the insurance returns.
The other piece of that is to teach us how to recover the insurance money from ambulance carriers and to put in place a process or it's not a process, it's a
Procedure.
procedure, yeah,
Yeah.
for recovering money. Like if they, if they carry, your insurance gets to pay for that carry.
We're supposed to hire an outside billing company.
That's the consultants, that's, they're gonna hire an outside billing company and put in the process to.
well, we're not going to pay Empress the $600,000.
No.
No, it's not.
Okay, that's all I was,
No.
This is to recover our money.
yes,
To recover money for us when we do an ambulance carry that's
right.
covered by
Okay.
insurance.
Right, so it's to insurance and to tell us what we're gonna need for the future. Okay. Thank
So
you.
that 859,000 is coming from where?
Fund balance,
The fund balance.
yes, because we're actually at the top of our limit. And so this
We
is,
have to spend now.
yeah,
Okay. Exactly.
so this is, and I think the health of the citizens of Kingston is a pretty good thing to spend fund balance on.
And they're fully operational. Sorry.
Yeah.
We have an ALS, we'd be honest with you.
And they've been doing fabulous. I know my would, I've seen quite a bit. They're doing great.
Oh, good.
Great, 20,000 is more stuff for the fire department. This is a transfer in the amount of $20,000 from contingency to purchase a fire rescue boat. Now, the fire boat doesn't cost $20,000, it actually costs much closer to $500,000. But this is part and parcel of the grant application that we're making to get a brand new boat that they can use for rescues on the water,
They have one now.
sort of.
Thinking.
It's old.
It's
not in good shape.
No, let me ask a question. If they don't get the grant, we don't spend the money.
My understanding is the grant was already in place, but it's not sufficient to cover the full cost.
I thought
I
there
think they
was-
needed an additional amount of money in place before transferring or something like that.
It's
Oh, right, they need to
required,
be able to prove that
Yeah.
we can pay
Yeah.
that.
it's a
difference.
required action to secure the $500,000
That's-
grant.
Yes.
So if we don't get the grant, we don't spend the money.
Right.
We
but I
will
was
have the
under the
grant,
impression
we
that-
don't say we're gonna spend.
Spend the money.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good. Resolution 21, transfer the amount of $232,565 in the police department's budget to balance accounts.
Good.
Yes, internal transfer, zero financial impact. Then the next one is similar transfer of $2,776.72 in the arts and cultural affairs budget to cover unanticipated over expenditures. That one is also just moving money within that budget, so there's no financial impact. Do 24.
23.
23.
You were just testing this, come on, we know.
Recommending the approval of a transfer in the amount of $1,416.58 in the Human Rights Department to balance accounts. That would also zero financial impact. Number 24, an ordinance amending an ordinance on traffic, New York, removing no parking ambulance only signs on Broadway in front of the Health Alliance Broadway campus. Cause ain't no more.
It's good, it'll free up 3 more, parking spots on Broadway.
Woohoo. Excellent.
25.
Put those meters up.
They're not.
25 is appointing the EFPR Group CPAs PLLC as the City of Kingston Independent Auditors. This is a project of John Toohey's. And highly recommended from him. Is it okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
He went through a formal process, reviewed proposals with others in his group, and selected qualified, is what he told us. So it wasn't just, it was went through the right process.
26 is authorizing the renewal of the intermunicipal agreement between the town of Ulster and City of Kingston for shared police services. This was this in?
Both the 2 years, we talked about both.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah, so this is the standard intermunicipal agreement between the town of Ulster and the city of Kingston. The only change has been that we're, instead of doing it for 1 year, we're going to be doing it for 2 years.
And we're sure we got the signature of the
Town of Ulster.
Right, it was subject to the approval of the town of Ulster. Did we get it?
signature.
Yeah.
If not, we'll be doing it again next year.
Can check.
Okay. Yes, okay, 27 is to amend the common council rules to change the name of the committee known as community development to community development and housing.
Yes.
Okay,
Does this need a supermajority since it's amending our rules on these things?
You need to sign off.
Oh, I see. No, I mean, just tomorrow night, just so you know that it's,
I was like,
that's the thing. We're all voting. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
okay. 28 is to allow e-bikes to operate on pathways in the city of Kingston, New York. Bob?
I'd like to talk about that. The state of New York passed a law in 2020 that allows e-bikes and e-scooters to use public streets. They did not include in that pathways and parks. And they included a proviso in there that says that local municipalities can permit them on pathways and parks. And so this is to do that so that we can have e-bikes and e-scooters, class 1 and 2, not 3, because 3 are illegal outside of New York City. 1 and 2 on pathways and parks. It's important because the Empire State Trail comes through our city. People use e-bikes on the Empire State Trail for bike touring. Seeing at the Kings, they have a bunch. And we want to make sure that what they're doing is consistent with the laws.
could you explain, class?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 classes of e-bikes. There's a pedal assist. There's a pedal assist with a throttle. And that they have a maximum speed of 20. And then there's ones that are throttle, like you can operate just with the throttle. And they can go up to like 30.
No.
They're permitted in New York City. They're not permitted outside of New York City. Now, from a practical perspective, if some kid is on an e-bike, how do you know?
Right.
Is another question. But the fact they're not supposed to be sold here, they're illegal in
Upstate.
upstate.
Okay.
You can have them in the city. So 1s and 2s are be permitted.
And if anyone brings up their class 3 bike from the city, they're also not allowed on the Empire Trail.
They're not allowed on
Even
public
in the
streets.
city, yeah.
They're not allowed on public streets outside of New York City. Or any, this resolution refers to the state law.
Right.
So if it's not permitted by the state law, it's not permitted by us.
Could you make sure to bring that up tomorrow night when we,
Absolutely.
when this comes up?
I'd love to speak to this.
And then it said that, the head director of Parks and Rec can make changes
Right.
and.
Right. The proviso that we put in here was that if the director of Parks and Recs can prohibit them in places where they think that they are not appropriate. For example, Gallo Park. I already talked to Lindsay. She says Gallo Park is one place that she would prohibit them with a sign. The zoo is another place she would prohibit them with a sign. So she knows what she wants to do with it to make sure that they're safe.
The peacocks are upset though. They were looking forward to
So,
being.
like a peacock on a scooter would be a great thing. But so she's aware, she's reviewed the bill and she's okay with it. So.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Resolution 29. This is authorizing an increase in the fee for removal of the city tree under chapter 37312 of the Code of the City of Kingston, New York. What was the final number we came down on here?
1250, up from 250.
Up from 250, right. So those of you who are here, the justification is that it was cheaper, it was way cheaper to pay the fine than to actually, go through the process and hire a real person to do it and so forth. So we wanted to make sure people understood that they can't just cut down these trees. They have to go through the process.
There is right, and I just wanted to clarify that a little bit because I did get some calls from constituents who misunderstood that it was a fee that they were going to have to pay in order to seek to get the tree removed, but that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is that's right, there's no permit fee. The goal is if you want to take down a tree, you need to call the city and then someone from the tree commission who's an arborist will come and look and, agree if it's unhealthy or, some other, if it's sick or dying, they will give you permission to take it down, then you take it down. But if you go ahead and just take it down, this is a fine for doing it without.
On a street tree.
On a street tree.
Yeah, on a city, I'm sorry, a city
City
tree.
street tree,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
It might be a good idea to, I don't know, talk to Summer or maybe talk to the tree commission about making sure this is advertised to people.
So
I
it's
think
a
so.
deterrent, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it's used as a deterrent, and it's also, if somebody acts, messes up because they really just don't know, and then they have this huge face, I think it'd behoove us to do some kind of education on this. So I don't know if anybody could reach out.
I can do that.
Cut a prepaid fee.
Oh.
Well, there you go, you got it tomorrow.
No, I would agree that that's important because a lot of people don't know that you have to go through this process. So this would be a way to both tell them and let them know if they don't do it, then they get a
Thank
penalty.
you.
Write that down.
Okay.
Michelle said
Thank you,
here,
Michelle.
she already wrote it down.
I'm talking about rings.
Oh, but it's like Brian's got it, it's gonna be.
It's been so good.
Quick. All right. Good. No, and Michelle brought that up, so I think it's a really important thing to do because we need to protect our trees.
Yes.
Resolution 30, setting an annual fee for license that confers authorization to use and or intrude upon municipal property or specified purpose.
What does that mean?
So I have a problem with this one.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't address the size of the parcel, doesn't address if it's being licensed for public use or public enjoyment. It's just too broad, a resolution as far as I'm concerned. And I think it sort of obscures what's going on at 365 South Wall.
How so?
Well, 365 South Wall, the prospective owner or the owner of the property is looking for a license to they have right of way that they want to license from the city and create parking there. And so it seems to me that this particular resolution would allow them to do that. At a cost of $250.
Every year, it's an
Every
annual
year,
fee.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. but it doesn't, this particular right of way would involve like 1,000 square feet, something like that. What about, a similar situation where we're only 500 square feet? We're only, 1 or 10 square feet? It's just too broad.
Other comments?
Well, we can discuss this at if my.
We should have square footage of what they're allowed to, and if they're not allowed to.
And also, if it serves the public purpose as opposed to a private use.
Yeah. So this is, my understanding is this is for use and occupancy permits, what I would call it. You have an encroachment on a public road or, and this is a fee so that you don't have to take it down. Would be one model for that. So do you appraise the value of the use and occupancy permit and make the fee schedule connected to the value of the use and occupancy of the area you're going to use and occupy? That would be the question I would ask. We have a flat, this is the one.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused. This is about any time the city can give or not give a license. But right now, we have in the past, I believe, given license and there's no uniform reporting of that and no uniform fee. And so this is drafted to be intentionally, to be broadly applicable because we need to have a fee, whether it is this particular license that you noted, or say, I'm thinking of a lawsuit example, not a Kingston example, but where say there's an empty parcel and the city wants to license it for a community garden, right? You would record that annual license for the same fee that we're talking about where there's right of way. I'm trying to think of another thing someone might want to create on city property. Whatever it is, there was litigation for a city garden or community garden. Maybe you want to put up a temporary structure or a license for some, whatever a license is, not this particular license, but the fee to record that and make sure that there's compliance is, what is it, $250 every year.
It's the administrative fee.
It's an administrative fee, and then what happens is there's an opportunity to have a centralized register of all the licenses and the conditions attached thereto. And if the license holder fails to comply with the conditions, that renewal time is an opportunity to determine whether or not they've complied. Right now, we have nothing.
But this is also separate and apart from the value of the license.
Completely, so
This is just it's a recording fee, and then you negotiate the value of the license when they apply.
Well, not the value of the license, there's a license. So I think let's extrapolate from the example that you gave, like in the community garden.
That's a good example.
That was a great example. And so that there was no fee attached to the license, I don't believe in that case, but the community group was allowed to use that public space. They came back every year to make sure it was being used for the specified purposes. They paid the recording fee, and that protected numerous, in that case, New York City interests, because the city had an annual permission process, was not giving away its land. No one can say that that land had been permanently dedicated for park use, and there was just an annual kind of review process, and that sort of improved compliance on a number of levels. And that's what this license is for as well. It has nothing to do with the value of the actual space being used, but it has to do with the oversight, administration, and permission in general that's being granted. So if somebody else came along and there's some other piece of land that someone was doing something else with, like a license to erect a temporary structure.
But a dog park.
For a certain period of time, you wanted to operate it on that space, maybe a dog park or something, I don't know, I don't want to do up to that, but say a dog park hypothetically, they would pay this same license regardless of what the space was, and then those conditions would be attached in the next year. Ideally, there will be a system to check, have there been complaints or,
Are they maintaining it?
Are they maintaining it the way they're supposed to?
Could a condition also be a cost? You have to pay so much a year.
Above the fee.
Above the fee.
I mean, theoretically, yes, but that's not.
Right, no, it's not in this legislation, but theoretically, yes.
We're trying to separate out a specific parcel and what its value might be versus the administrative fee.
But those are two different, I mean, they're. And so I think part of what you're getting at is the determination as to whether or not to give a license under particular circumstances, which is separate from this fee that's being discussed. And there is a separate process for this particular parcel that you're talking about, where there's been a, what is it, planning department review process where there was a fee paid for that review, materials that were submitted as part of it, probably some additional, I don't know what else, accompanied under the Sue, with Sue's presentation. But there were either costs or actions associated with getting to the point of needing a license. And then on top of that, the conditions that will be put into it, and then the fee for, registering a license every year, recording it.
Does that answer the question? Because
No,
I mean, yeah, I don't
But,
think it really.
I understand that that's like a procedural matter, that, the $250. But my understanding is that with 365, that this is part of like the last step that they would have to secure in order to expand their footprint into the right of way, which is approximately 1,000 square feet, and it would allow them 15 in total parking spaces as opposed to the 5 that they're entitled to under the uniform-based zoning code. And so if we give the license, if we say for $250, you can have in effect these 5 additional parking spaces, because that's what that license would give them.
It's
The
two
license
different
is not
things.
given.
No, the planning board would have to
waiver.
determine what it is that they get. This is just a filing fee, essentially. So the planning board is coming up at the next planning board meeting.
And basically, if we don't do this, we still don't have the say to, like, that is not our department, so to speak. So
We have no
we're-
oversight, yeah.
We have no oversight over that. So not doing this doesn't solve the problem
Right,
that you're,
that's right.
you're pointing out, which I agree with you. But this, I don't think, this is related, but not related. And this is, if you think of it as a bigger picture, like, this is to clean up a process that we should have had in place. Perhaps it was brought to our attention through this project, but not necessarily, it's not only for that project. So,
No, I understand.
Yeah.
This is going on our fee schedule for any license.
Right.
For any license, for any use of municipal property, just to pay that filing fee. And it did not exist before.
Okay,
And pay for the cost of administration.
right.
So where would this conversation take place? In what department would it take place in order
Planning.
to?
Planning board.
So we,
But there was no public hearing, as far as I know.
will there be?
Yes,
There was.
there was, and in fact, I have the planning board, since I'm the liaison, it is coming up at the next planning board meeting. So if you want to show up, it's not a public hearing, but they're going to be discussing it, so this would be a good time. You could reach out to people on the planning board.
I already
as an alderman, you have a strong voice. And
Yes,
yeah, you could
that's
reach
right.
out.
You
when
could
look
reach
at
out.
The agenda, and even if there isn't a public hearing, reach out with your concerns that you're hearing from your constituents.
Mhm.
I'm sure they appreciate that, since
Yeah, no.
you're,
they would.
closer to the ground when it's your board. So,
365.
South Wall.
365 South. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be reporting on that a little later, just what's on the agenda for the planning board.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
So we're good with that, right?
Yeah.
$250?
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 30 is a resolution setting an annual fee for license that confers authorization to, wait.
That's what we just said.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm getting back, you're skipping the one before.
Skip right up to 39.
Resolution 31, setting an annual fee for a license to operate a hotel, motel, inn, boarding house, lodging house, rooming house, association, club, or any business renting rooms as per administrative code section 277-1 of the city of Kingston.
Yeah, this came out of finance.
150.
So the same thing for boarding house.
Well, for any transient
Right.
location.
Any transient.
Except,
Yeah.
um,
Hotel, motel, inn, boarding house, lodging house, rooming house, association, club, or any business.
hotel,
In business of
motel,
renting rooms, renting rooms.
Mhm.
short-term rentals have their own fee schedule already.
How much is this fee?
150.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. All right, 32 is authorizing the mayor to enter into 2 easement agreements for 166 Delaware and 7 Courts Street.
Yes, so this came out of laws and rules. This is a house down at 166 Delaware that is on a corner lot with Court Street in Delaware, and the home was encroaching on city property, but no one knew about it for a long time. The house has been there for a very long time. And so in order for the house to be sold, the potential occupants need to be able to get a title insurance, and they can't without having these easements in place. So we're authorizing the mayor to enter into the easements on this location
So
for $10.
unlike a licensing agreement, see, this is different because you can't transfer title in a licensing agreement, but you can transfer title with an easement. So this allows them to sell their houses.
Well, they own that little piece of property there,
They have an
the
easement.
new owners.
They'll have an easement.
They'll have the
They
rights.
don't own it, they'll have an easement.
Yeah, and it's not encroaching or impinging on anything, so it's different from that other South Wall Street. All right, number 33, authorizing the mayor to execute financing and tax compliance agreement related to the $14 million library bond ordinance. So this is a requirement that even though it's the library that's taking on the bond, the city has to be the responsible party for, in a sense, funneling the funds. So this has 0 financial impact to the city. Right? You okay with that? Good. And then we have first reading of local law 1, which is technically the 3rd reading, but since it's an odd number, that's like 1, so we're not going to vote on it. This is the one that we, I explained that perfectly.
Came back.
So we're not voting.
We're not voting on this one yet. First reading of local law. Did not read. Yeah, to be serious, this is one that Michael Tierney wanted to bring back because he thought that it was too strict of a requirement. So we loosened it a bit. But because it's a local law and we changed it, it still has to go back for a first reading, which means no vote, because you want to give people a longer period of time to think about local laws. And
And we
then,
were changing, just for their benefit, we were changing it from 3 tickets to 5 tickets.
and then the next one is first reading of local law 2 regarding amending section 277 hotel, motel, bed and breakfast and boarding houses and other kinds of lodging of the code of the city of Kingston.
This is the language and the code that, for the licensing that then matches the fees and some other changes.
Well, and isn't that the part that it said that it was, I seen that building department was scratched out of it, who's gonna be overseeing these boarding houses and everything
They're not being overseen, it's just the license granted.
for them?
Yes,
Okay.
for all transient, not just boarding houses, all.
Oh, okay.
They all need licenses.
No, yeah.
And they're issued them by the city clerk. They would come to the city clerk to get the license.
Okay, so again, first reading, no vote. All right, anything else related to the resolutions? If not, then if anybody has reports from committees, boards that you are liaison to which you liaise,
I think that's dramatic.
I think it is. It sounds really bizarre.
It does.
Sometimes.
What order do you want to go in? Chief?
You can start with you.
Well, first,
Clockwise or counterclockwise?
Sarah's
I have a couple, I could go.
You can go first, then I'll follow.
Why don't you go at the same time?
Okay. Let me just, Complete Streets Advisory Council, I've been talking to them, they're having all kinds of exciting things.
Yes.
Well, they're all excited about projects that are going on. They want to, and the city engineers agreed to brief them on a couple of projects, and that's a good thing. I'm glad John's willing to do it. It'll help them understand where they're going. They're also preparing a sidewalk thing for the mayor. They're going to be presenting that to him about what to do about our sidewalks. It'll be interesting.
Great.
Once he's gonna look at it and make a choice, but it's starting that process for what we're gonna do with our sidewalks.
Right.
So that'll be an interesting thing coming from that group. They've had some turnover, a couple people quit, but a couple people are. So we'll see what happens as that evolves.
Can I ask a question? Are they looking for more people?
They always are looking for.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'll just mention it to
Yeah.
some people
Yeah,
in my ward.
I told them to reach out to John Rosepool. I can get the contact
Oh,
information.
okay. That'd be
That's,
great.
he's the chair.
But they have to fill out
They
the,
have to fill out the application form. on the
Fill out the
citizen's
application form online, and he'll get it then automatically. He doesn't have to
Oh, okay.
So that's good.
Okay.
DPW, I talked to Ed, they got through this so far in the winter, January is not the worst month typically, it's February, March, so he's getting ready, got a bunch of new people, so he's struggling, he's, the challenges of snow plowing with new people he's facing, and they're doing well, I've not heard a lot of complaints, I think they're doing a great job with the snow and the garbage.
I've actually heard told them.
Yeah, they've done a good job, and that's what I told him. And I know he feels the strain because there's last storm, a couple of streets were missed and there's almost that. He's got new drivers and they're trying to figure this out. And he's trying to figure out ways to improve where the trucks are and stuff. I know he's been talking to New York State DOT about how they do it. So I think we may be hearing from him about some ideas on how he can better manage where his equipment is.
And protect the equipment.
And protect the equipment. What New York State does, they have forward-facing cameras so that they can track crashes and stuff too. We talked a little bit about that. So we'll see what he may have to come to us for some money, but it's good that he's thinking about this. I think he's doing a good job, and I told him. So now I'm done. Okay, I'm done.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a liaison to a couple of groups, so I'll report on the KLDC. I attended that recently, and they said that they currently have 9 loans outstanding for a total amount of about $288,000. They said that people are paying on time, which is good and does not always happen, but it's good. One loan application was discussed at the meeting, and the group approved loan terms, and then there was another loan application coming in, and they discussed creating an RFP that they could post on the website to encourage additional loan applicants, because they are there to loan businesses money at a reduced rate so that businesses can get going and develop. So they're trying to draw attention to the fact that this loan program exists. They also discussed the business park on Delaware Avenue, and which has 40 million square feet of space available. And they discussed whether the business park could consider creating the same kind of live-work campus that's now being discussed for the I-Park in the town of Ulster, which they thought, and it seems reasonable, that would make a lot of sense, because in part because of the way the terrain is structured, that housing could fit in there. So they agreed to look into that, to see if it would be possible, and we're on the site. So that's what's happening at the KLDC. The planning board. Yes, there were 3 items on the January planning board agenda. One was 106 West Chestnut Street, and some of you have probably read the special use permit was denied. That was in the newspapers. 365 South Wall Street came up. If there was a snowstorm, the people could not make it, so it's been postponed until this coming meeting. So it'll be on the agenda.
Wait, would you say that again?
Oh, the 365 South Wall Street.
And what happens?
It was postponed to this coming meeting, snow day,
I heard something very different. So go ahead.
but whatever. But anyway, they're looking for a major
I
waiver.
thought you said something about naked people coming out anyway.
Okay, guys.
And then also the library. The site plan for the library was discussed. And that went very well. This is the addition that's going in. Everyone's excited about it. There was one good suggestion that came from the planning board that there would be a pedestrian walkway put in going around the building because the building is going to be open after hours, so it's going to be used as a community meeting space, but that's a separate door. So there was discussion about putting in a dedicated pathway to keep people from walking through the parking lot. And everyone thought that was a good idea, so they're going to take it back to the architect and see if they can do it. But it looks like it's going to be a great addition, and it's wonderful the library is going to be able to be used after hours as a community meeting space, so everyone was excited about that. And so it's moving along in its process. And then the next planning board is scheduled for February 20th. And there are public hearings for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different locations. And I'll tell you which wards they're in if you want to go onto their website, onto the planning board website to see. 549 Albany Avenue, subdivision of existing land, Ward 6. 218 to 220 and 224 Foxhall Avenue, special permit for an eating, drinking establishment with alcohol, Ward 6.
That's it.
What's this, it's kicking.
This is Foxhall Avenue. Okay, so.
That's the bezel there.
It's Bob's house.
85 of Beale Street, special permit to establish a 5-room bed and breakfast, Ward 8. Also 70 West Union, a special permit to establish a 3-room bed and breakfast for also in Ward 8. And then 29 Worth Street, special permit to establish a cultural institution for the arts. This is the Ashokan Foundation, is applying, also Ward 8. So lots of public hearings related to Ward 8. Yeah, so anyway, see, now that you know, this is, you have time if you think there might be people who'd like to go to the public hearing or yourselves. You can go. Also, among new business, in addition to the South Wall Street property, 549 Delaware Avenue. This is in Ward 7. Site plan approval is being discussed to convert a 3-unit structure to a 4-unit small multiplex. So that's happening, Ward 7.
Where is that?
Ward 7, 549 Delaware. And this is new business coming.
Is it the old burnt building, the 549?
I don't know which building that is.
First that.
That's,
And,
okay.
you know, oh, okay.
That's not-
And last, 140 to 150 Boulevard and 66 to 92 Pettit Avenue, a site plan to construct 4 7-unit residential complexes with 2 major waiver requests for building heights and to exceed the number of unit counts, Ward 5. So that's what's going on. So, these are just taking all of it. Because I go to these meetings, I might as well report on what's going on.
I'm not going after that.
I have one more. This is also very exciting.
549 is, that's for the fire.
That's where, yeah.
That is?
Yeah.
That's the building?
Oh,
I thought so. I didn't
In the blue house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how many apartments are they putting it in?
549, they want to convert it from 3 units to 4 units. So it's just one additional unit. It was a 3-unit structure.
Huh. They probably make it smaller, because I was gonna say, I don't see, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's basically, they're just changing it from 3 to 4 units. So I guess, and it said a request for a dormer configuration, so maybe they'll go up into the attic.
The attic, okay, so then they'll have a full.
Oh, you know,
system.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
good, that's good.
So then the Kingston Housing Task Force. I'll just read you what I've read. They have a lot of things going on.
And this is the county,
The county, this is the county because they have funds from Ulster County to conduct a housing outreach and education campaign that will be paid for by Ulster County. So this is, Ulster County is doing this. And the education campaign is going to involve 2 housing education and listening sessions. And the goal is to create a housing survey and housing outreach playbook to try to gather information from key stakeholders about what the needs are. And part of the reason this is happening is that Kingston has signed on to the Housing Smart Communities Initiative, which is a step-by-step process that's going to set up a prioritized set of housing smart actions. So what the housing plan is that Citizens Kingston is going to take and if you actually go through this certification through the county, that enables you to get access to resources and tax incentives and funding and other things that you might not otherwise have access to because you've gone through this process and done the planning and reached out to the community and figured out.
As a developer?
No, I mean, that the city would have access.
Oh, the city.
The city would gain access to resources and some of the resources would, it would be access to technical support, training, tools and resources and other incentives that might come from the county that would be useful for the city. So it's all to the good. Right now, Kingston is at the bronze level and there's a silver, gold and platinum. So the goal, if you complete all these steps, is to get to the platinum level, which the city would like to do. And this is being spearheaded by Bartek, Director of Housing Initiatives. And it's a good group of people sort of trying to get out and find out what's going on in the community. And out of that, at the last meeting, came the discussion of home share. I don't know if any of you know what that is, but Home Share Woodstock is a new program that's been operating for 2 years in Woodstock. And what it does is allow people who have homes, usually elderly people who want to stay in their home, but they can't afford to stay there or they can't take care of it. And it provides for modest rents for people to come in and share their home in exchange for maybe doing some small services, running some errands. They work it out, but the rents are very modest. And so it's been working. Now they're in the second year in Woodstock. It started off slow, 3 matches in the first year, now they're up to 5. And as the matches become successful, they're working their way through the program. They're learning what works, what doesn't, and it's very, very comprehensive in that they have an interview process to make sure it's like qualifying a roommate. And then they have a match period. If it doesn't work out, then, after 3 months, then either the homeowner can say, this isn't working for me, the home seeker can say that. But it's sort of a long-term or longish-term rental arrangement that benefits, especially people who have larger homes. And we have a number of those here in Kingston, same in Woodstock. People who are living alone in a big house, they don't want to leave it, but they want another person or a family or other people to come in. And it's worked well, and Family of Woodstock would like to expand it to Kingston to see if there's interest. So the first step is to create a housing survey that would go out to see if there's enough interest. Are there enough people willing to share their homes? We know there are people looking for affordable rents, but are there enough people willing to do that? In Woodstock, they had 67 people who responded, and they had enough people interested in sharing their homes. It was worth starting, and you start slow and build up. And so a survey has been developed through this task force, and it's going to be launched, excuse me, it's going to be launched tomorrow or the next day, within the next couple of days. So be on the lookout for a press release coming from the city that will have a link to the survey, and the survey will go on for a month. So I'm just telling you, because you'll be on the lookout, you can send it out to people you might know or different groups and see if there's interest, because it doesn't solve the housing problem. There's no question about that, but it helps. And every little step that you can take that helps keep people in their homes and creates affordable rent is worthwhile. So you'll be seeing that. It'll go out. So Bartek has been great in sort of spearheading this.
So I'm on there with Sarah as well, and the goal that the mayor had made of 1,000 new units for 5 years is being tracked through that committee and with Bartek as well.
Yeah, so that's it. That's my report. Well, I take all these, go to these meetings and take notes. I figure, I have the information, why not share it, right?
I'm gonna shout at you next time.
No, you're going to different committees.
Do you want to just go around? All right, so I don't have much this time, so, we do have tomorrow our ever witty majority leader giving his speech. So that's, we're looking forward to that. For our community development and housing committee, we are gonna have a presentation from Bartek when we passed the zoning code, the form-based code back in August. Part of what we added to it was we wanted regular check-ins to see how it was going, and so we started with a 6-month one. So he's gonna give his report to that committee. So if you would like to hear it, either come to that meeting or you could send any committee members or send Steve any questions, he chairs the committee, or just listen to the meeting afterwards. So that's whatever the fourth Tuesday of February is. And the only other one I have is every year the Common Council takes out space in the St. Patty's Day Parade for an advertisement. Just, generic. So I did get an email a couple days ago asking for support. I can't remember. They're usually like $25 per council. Yeah. Per, yeah.
Okay.
So I usually, I'll send the check and then I'll just ask for reimbursement. It's easier that way, so we can just get it done. I think each of the last 4 years, we have honored somebody in it. I know the first year we honored Jim Noble for his 18 years of service on the Common Council. And I say first year, my first year. Thank you. And then I know we honored essential workers during COVID. I can't remember the last two. Did we honor the Burks? The couple that,
That might have been,
it might have been them, and I can't remember the third, or maybe we skipped a year. I'm not gonna do anything without full support because it's a common council thing. The only thing I thought of is in memory of the two boys that were killed in that crash a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Is everybody okay with that?
Definitely support that.
Jeannie, would you be okay with that? Okay.
And can we mention the third one?
If you're not okay with that, send me an email.
I'm mentioning the
The
third
third
one.
one too,
Yeah.
the three.
Yeah, and
Work,
Michael's
yeah.
not here, so I'll reach out, but if you're not okay with it, and don't wanna say it, that's absolutely fine.
I stand firm with this until we acknowledge DJ, the girl that got shot in Ward 4. Nobody's
She hasn't been acknowledged,
no.
so why don't we add
So
her?
I think, we should definitely look.
Well, we did in a memory of, so we didn't do it at the St. Patty's Day parade, but we did honor her memory, the common councils.
It was small compared to the horrific. I'm sorry. My ward is very upset about no government officials coming to say this is unacceptable, like really speaking out against gun violence and different things like that, that they really,
Do you think they want to be acknowledged in this way?
either way, it's death. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the,
And these are young people who are.
they're all young. She was very young. And I understand that there was a vigil that night. I was there. I understand there was, little things, but such a horrific thing that happened in our city, we should have, we're so desensitized. We should have been like, what? We should have poured out.
Yeah, I know, it's never enough, but I know we did put out a statement. I remember Rita wrote the statement. I know we closed in memory, so I'm not saying that is enough.
No, go with the point, yes.
But just so that you all who weren't on the council during that time do realize that it wasn't.
And it's not taken away from Rita. That was a beautiful statement. Definitely not, I'm just saying,
And how long ago did that happen?
This happened 3 years ago.
Oh, 3 years
the
ago, so
boys
this was
would
just in the
be-
recent year, yeah.
The boys would be,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna voice that until, somebody hears that somewhere.
We hear it. I feel like-
My ward is affected by it because everybody heard the gunshots. And the healing is still, it's still there, it's still raw. When we hear gunshots, you're thinking, oh my gosh, And there was a couple of things, and it's just, that was one thing a lot of the constituents said to me when I went door to door, a lot. And that was like, we're nothing. It didn't matter, they didn't, no, right. Oh, no, I agree, I totally agree, and I would talk to the people
But I
about
think
it.
would be incumbent upon us to make that, if we have a voice, we support that voice.
Right.
We support our community, we show our community by voicing it here.
Mhm.
You know, we'll stand up and do what we must. If we missed it, let's fix it.
Right, and we
let's
will
get it
eventually,
done.
I think that
Not
two
eventually, we
voices,
need
you
to,
know.
we need to make it a case. We
I-
need to
I-
make it a point
Yeah,
to do it, not just speak and then it passes like water. We need to make it a point to make sure the people in Midtown Ward 4 and throughout that are constantly being kind of undermined and
right.
not seen and heard, we need to make sure that they are seen and heard. Your voice, our voice together needs to make that
We have a
happen
lot of
to the
power,
best of our
you know,
ability,
and-
but that's real right there.
That's really, that's.
We need to make that happen.
Yeah. We're not gonna move forward in Ward 4 until that is really acknowledged by a very strong presence of our government.
And I think we have that. We
We
have,
have a great group here. I'm tugging at your heartstrings because I hear it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think at the
Yeah.
time too, we were remote. I don't think we
Right.
were
no,
in City Hall. so-
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
deep into COVID.
Yeah.
so I'm just throwing it out there. The two boys, they're recent.
They're
It would be a
recent,
healing there for the school, for the community, yes.
Okay.
I would
You know,
definitely say
But I
yes.
definitely I wanted to throw that out, I just.
I would say yes and.
Yeah.
Let's make
No,
sure
let's
we
not,
do
put
something.
no, give it to the two boys. You
Yeah.
don't
No,
want-
no, no,
That
I'm
was, then
talking
you have to
about.
go back
Back,
to
yeah.
all.
No, that's not my,
depths.
no, that's not my
Yeah.
point. My
Yeah.
point
I didn't
is
realize it was that
to
long.
make it a point
Right,
to make sure that
Yeah,
our
exactly.
voices are heard in Ward 4. And make sure DJ, her life is acknowledged.
loudly, yeah,
Yeah.
from us. So yes, I'm with you on the two
One
boys.
suggestion is when it's Ward 4's opportunity to do a community award,
Mhm.
perhaps that is something that you would like to consider doing, and we don't have to go in order. So if you want to do it as soon as possible,
I can
Michelle, or,
switch with for March.
No, no, you go
I
ahead
didn't talk to the
because,
person yet. so-
okay, but I mean, that would be another thing, so you could, give a little bit of presentation on the light that she brought. So just an example of something that we could do that would be more. And we could talk about, it. I did offer Michelle, more with Knives Out, but we have all kind of
Switched
jumped around, there isn't a set.
yeah, I just don't want it forgotten. I didn't want it, I didn't know that that's what you do with St. Patty's Day. And yes, that it's fresh in people's mind, yes, for sure. I just don't want us to forget how horrific that was.
Here,
I think honoring her memory would be great
Yeah.
at a council meeting.
So I'll let you,
Yeah, okay.
if you switch, just
Yeah,
let me
okay.
know.
Okay.
We do have Lynn Woods and Stephen Plowrice being recognized by Steve Shabbat tomorrow. Stephen won't be here, but Lynn will be accepting both of the awards. I'm assuming everybody here knows who they are, Lynn and Stephen.
Mhm.
All right, and that's all I have.
And what is the schedule for,
So
Any
so you
comments?
would, so
when would,
9 would be March, so
And
then you
then,
would be,
well,
okay,
and then you would go next.
so
I
April.
typically do-
oh, I see, 1 through 9, and you just
And then
keep
one
on
for
going.
nine of me, and
I see.
then, but some people have asked to,
And that's fine, I can't think of anything in particular
yeah.
at this moment, but.
I try and keep some schedule, but it's super
Okay.
flexible. So just, I will wait to hear, I'll
Okay.
expect you unless I hear from
Okay.
one of you.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
anything?
I do for the library, I have a couple of terribles next.
Well, I did, I have not met with the Kingston Midtown Business Association yet, although we have made a tentative meeting for next week, just to sit and chat about what's going on there. And, but I did meet coffee with the Kingston City Land Bank. And very interesting, some of the things that are going on there. I don't know if you are all familiar with the 3 homes that have been developed and they're for sale now. And it is open to anyone who is income qualified to buy it. And so we talked about how it would be illegal not to allow people from different areas of New York State to come in and, apply for these homes, because, of course, concern is what about Kingston residents? So is there some sort of a preferential treatment or some way that they could distinguish themselves and receive better? But no, that is not the case. So, otherwise that would be discrimination.
Right.
So, but we did talk about a case that will likely impact the business of the Kingston Land Bank going forward. I think it's the Hennepin. Which actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it, that if the city takes your property for lack of payment the tax delinquency after 3 years, and they sell that property for more than what you owe, what happens to that profit? Does it endure to the person who lost the home or the property, or does the city get to recognize that as part of its equity in the property? And so this particular decision sort of upends that, and it is causing concern nationwide in terms of how it is you go about acquiring properties if you do this.
I'm writing a long review paper on it, if anybody wants to, I can read a 30-page paper on it.
Oh, read
Let me know.
Yeah.
Let's wait till then to get into the
Yes.
merits, because, it's a wacky case. Anyway,
And also Kingston Land Bank is coming to do their annual presentation, we just haven't worked on the date, but stay tuned.
You should read our disposition policy, because that is how
I can't.
our disposition policy, yeah, so that is how the Kingston Land Bank acquires our property, so you should get familiar with
Oh,
that.
okay. What is it called? Disposition?
Disposition policy.
not dispossession.
Right.
So with the library, they're getting ready to start construction. Marjorie provided flyers for the neighborhood, which was really great, of when they're gonna start and the noise levels and everything. She was really concerned with all of that, so that was discussed a lot. But she brought over flyers, so we're distributing them around the library to let everyone know that there's gonna be noise issues on certain days. They hope to have this, they should be moving back from 61 Crown Street, June of 2025. So, that's what they're striving for. Now, if they get it, they said they're not gonna be too far after June, but that's what they're hoping for. They went for funding, so we talked about that a little bit tonight. And, they're looking for a children's librarian. So if anybody knows anyone that, can do that, they're taking applications and they're in the process of looking. They're going to up their ante a little bit, pay somebody more to do that.
Is that a full-time job or
It's
part-time?
it's a full-time job, she said.
No.
So it's very good.
Interested? I'm too old. I'm qualified as a children's librarian.
So, that's what they were looking for, the state funding, and grant money. So, they have a lot of different resources that they're doing, a lot of, crafts and hobby resources at the library, where they're gonna have classes there, maybe crocheting and different, they're talking about pottery, so that's with the library. This is Susan Cahill, I want to go to climate change. Climate change, Climate Smart is really very interesting. They brought a car that they, bought from Barnes and Noble that runs on water. So they're really looking into all the technology of that. They actually bought it and they're gonna run it around the next meeting. They're, doing, repair shops in different places, Port Young, Kingston. So they're really doing a lot of, reaching out. With the solar, they're having problems. Our parking lot here does not really belong to City Hall, it belongs to the hospital. So they can't do a whole lot of work here to update it because this building is so old with the solar panels. So they're looking into maybe trying to get it in another parking lot. So they're really moving forward fast. And then they're having a Wilbur neighborhood meeting.
I can talk about that.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, that's my word, so.
Oh, that, so is
Yeah.
yours, but I'm on the board.
Oh.
But you guys could talk
Yeah,
about it. I'll give you
okay.
the pleasure of that. I'll be passing out flyers for Steve Shabbat. I guess you have your work covered because they, on their meetings. So that is going on and that's really all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drew, anything?
Thank you. So, so I'm on two committees, Live Well Kingston and the Police Commission. And Live Well Kingston, it's like I have 15 minutes to get from one to the other. So it's right back to back. So I try to squeeze as much as possible. So let me start with Live Well. I've learned about their 7 focus teams, which is age well, eat well, grow well, heal well, play well, and travel well. All, and they all have their own focus, and I'm just kind of learning about how one constituents connect with it and exactly what they do. So because I only have a few minutes, I was kind of just learning about, each focus group and learning about, everyone on the team, with Emily Flynn, Marshall, Marsha, and the rest of the team. So that's something I'm still learning about what Live Well Kingston does. And then on the police commission, they lost 2 detectives because they retired. That's one thing I learned. And we're down 9 positions.
Wow.
We're down 9. Even though, so they just recently hired 2, they lost 2, and we're still down 9 police officers. So yeah, we're, that same day, I think they were interviewing 8 new candidates, and we were praying for the best. I don't know how that came about because it was, last month, and I think next meeting is in a couple of months, so I'll find out how that transpired. But we're down many officers, so officers are putting in a lot of extra work and overtime and so on and so forth. So, they're doing what they can do. So, and I hope that Chief Tinsley hired, if not all of them, a few of the right, police officers. The mayor gave a presentation stating that the crime is declining in Kingston. Larceny, theft and deaths are declining in Kingston, which is of course a good thing. And that there's a collaboration between Ulster County Police Department and Police Department to clean up and support the linear park. What's happening in the linear park. So that's really a big deal. There's a.
We don't let the cameras.
There are. Okay. You mentioned that part of it. There'll be an upgrade in firearms, with, including optics and lighting, through money supported through the ARPA fund. ARPA funds. that's pretty much it. But
Has there been any discussion you've been party to regarding the program, community safety program developed by Peaceful Guardians?
no, is that still happening? Do
It's
tell.
not happening, no.
Oh, I was like, do tell.
Yeah, there's $200,000 sitting around somewhere to implement that program.
Wow.
Anyone?
So,
Was that ARPA money?
no,
No,
Since
way
21.
before.
Wow, that's our bad.
so, especially if we're down in terms of number of police officers.
Yeah.
So, we need to pull that program out and see about how we could get it going.
Is that still an active program that you know? of?
It was never implemented. We had all this work done to create it.
And
The
then,
New York State Attorney General's office actually said it looked like a great program, but then somebody never actually
Spirit.
pushed the program.
yeah,
So I think we need to look at that again.
Good idea.
we definitely should.
Expended?
I can't think so, because I mean, you'd have to, it was earmarked for that, so it's sitting in fund balance.
So we never, I can't even remember, so we never actually.
It was,
We spent money for the development of the prototype, but we never spent the money that was put aside for the implementation.
Was the development ever done?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I can't even remember.
That was in 21.
I can. Oh, you.
So it's sitting there for time.
So by now, with interest, it's probably like $8 or $9 million. Give or take. So maybe let's talk about that. I'm sure I've got it on my computer
I'd
here,
love to.
so we can bring that out.
Yeah.
Look at possibilities there.
Absolutely.
So the fire commission only meets quarterly, or if they're going to be hiring, so they make decisions. So they've done interviews to hire the next round of paramedics and EMTs, and so that'll be coming to the council for finance. Water board, I did not make it to this month. But the second meeting for the historic preservation down in Wilbur will be on Monday, February 12th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So at the last meeting, they established the area, which will be a few houses on Dunn Street that will receive historic designation, and then a couple of other homes within the area. It doesn't mean that they're automatically going to be the individual homes be automatically designated. It'll be, up to the homeowner if they want to opt in. So this is a meeting
So this is
to
like
get
a
more.
district establishment of district.
Yeah, there'll be a district and then individual designated homes and sites.
And we'll be doing the same thing in Packagee neighborhood meeting, identical to that, except a different area, on Thursday, February 15th, from 6 to 8 at the, what's the name, Packagee Congregational Church. You've probably all seen that,
Yes.
passing down Delaware Avenue
Yeah.
many times. So the meeting will be there.
All right,
Okay.
great. So the tree commission is looking toward Arbor Day, which is coming up on April 26th. Anybody has ideas for Arbor Day, please bring them forward. They're also looking at getting some grants for the tree grant, some money to fund the tree grant from New York State Department of Environment. And trying to develop also the urban forester grant. And then the Arts Commission, the big thing is, same thing I mentioned last month, is developing the new arts master plan. Robert.
I just had a question about the housing authority. I'm hearing that they're not going to be able to develop some of it, that round out.
No, there's a negotiation going on between the state authorities and the housing authority. And so they're going to be doing, it's going to be 2 phases now. So the first application has to do with renovation of what's there. The second phase is going to be an application for additional units to be built.
Okay, that building that they came to us and spoke about?
Which building?
They came and spoke about 3 buildings,
Right.
A, B, and some D, or something
Yeah.
getting demolished and putting in a new
Right.
80-unit building.
Yeah.
But that's, I heard that they didn't get permission yet for that.
Not permission yet, but
Okay.
there's been a lot of negotiation with the state authorities about what monies are available. There's also, you have to be in a queue to actually get, your application reviewed and all that sort of thing. So, and so people drop out of the queue. So it's in process.
Okay.
To adjourn.
Second.
Anyone not in favor? Are all the, words of the,
I actually accidentally printed out 2 copies.
are all the,
Night.